What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I've got a pretty awesome video to bring you guys because a lot of Boro fans, if you don't know, I'm sure most of you do, but for any people who aren't possibly Boro fans, we're getting ourselves a new crest in a couple of years' time to celebrate Boro's 150th anniversary in 2026. The club are getting a brand new crest, and I was lucky enough to get a ticket and be invited along to an event at the Riverside earlier this week, which was a crest workshop where we basically sat down and learnt about the history of Boro's crest and the meaning of certain elements and how it's evolved over the years. And then we all got to sit down with representatives of the club, basically giving our own thoughts and ideas and suggestions towards what we would like the new crest to look like. And they were all collated, presented, and will be passed on to the team who are creating the brand new crest. And the head of design from that company was at the event as well, which was absolutely awesome. And today, I want to give you guys an idea of what the general consensus was, not just from me, from our team, but the whole room on what everyone sort of wants to see from the new crest. And I think that probably gives us a really, really good idea as to where it's going and what the crest might look like. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about the event. We had a great introduction from Gary Phillipson, who's a legend from BBC Tees, and then Anthony Vickers did a brilliant presentation going through the history of the club's crest. The fact that Boro were one of the first clubs in the Football League, and I think in the country, to actually create and adopt a brand new crest in the 60s, going into the 70s. Back then, even the biggest clubs in the country did not have a crest. They didn't have a badge on their shirt, but someone, I can't recall the name of the family who it was, invested a ridiculous amount of money into getting Boro a crest that was then put on our kit in the 70s. So we were pioneers in England, really, for designing a club crest and getting that applied to the football kits. We also learned about the lion and where the lion come from, and basically how much the current crest is based off of the coat of arms of a family who played a big part in the very early days of the football club and its evolution, among loads of other really, really awesome things. It was really, really interesting, and as a designer, being able to sit there alongside a representative from the club and get a little bit excited and carried away, I may add, and just, giving my ideas and suggestions about what we could include, the fonts we could use, the colours we could use, and just other really awesome stuff that we discussed, like what it means to be a Boro fan, where we want the crest to go, all these other things. It was absolutely awesome and a really, really good event that the club put on. But I guess the answer to the question you all want to hear is, where are we at with the crest and what's it going to look like? Well, it's clearly in a very early stage of creation because this workshop is obviously to still gauge ideas on where they want the crest to go. So I wouldn't say they're very far down the process of creating the crest at all. They're still very much wanting to hear what the fans think, which is absolutely awesome. When we changed crest back in 2007, 2008, I want to say, to the current one, there was absolutely no influence from the fans. The fans weren't included in that decision. This new crest just dropped out of the sky. And I think it's obvious from this event and a lot of other Boro fans, and I agree with this sentiment incredibly, the current Boro crest just represents miserable times. Nothing of note has happened since we adopted this crest. It come in straight after our literal peak of the UEFA Cup final in 2006. And since then, it's been relegation and spending, 15 of the next 16 years in the Championship, doing nothing of note, really, barring one season in the Premier League, which even then wasn't all that good. Whereas the badge previous represented multiple cup finals, FA Cup finals, League Cup finals. It represented us bringing in some of the best players in Europe, players we'd never dreamed of having at the football club, Emerson, Janino, Ravanelli, to name a few. It represented Boro's boom period, the boom period in football in the Premier League era. It represented Boro getting to the UEFA Cup final, lifting our first and only major trophy in 2004. It's safe to say, if there is a degree of superstition around the badges, then the previous badge has a hell of a lot more love from this one. And this current badge is very much seen as a bit of a jinx from Boro fans, and that's why 95% of people there on the night pretty much were happy to say, yes, we want a change badge, and we're hoping it might actually be a change in our fortunes. So a number of things that were discussed was, what do we want to keep from the current badge and what do we carry over? Now, a lot of really simplistic Boro fans were quite straight to the point. with what they wanted, and that was that we revert back to the previous badge, the circular badge, and we just modernise it and maybe tweak it and give it a little modern, evolution. And I wouldn't be against that, if I'm honest. I wouldn't be against that whatsoever. As I say, that's the badge that a lot of Boro fans hold closest to their heart. I also think that's the most recognisable badge from fans who maybe aren't from Middlesbrough. If you want to say globally or, at least in Europe, that's the badge I think most people think is synonymous with Middlesbrough, because, again, that's when we were in Europe. That's when the club was getting showcased around Europe. That's when a lot of the images you see of Boro players, the macaroni header in the UEFA Cup semi-final, Southgate lifting the League Cup in 2004, that badge is there front and centre with everyone. There just is a more positive feeling around that badge compared to the others. So a lot of Boro fans were quite simple in the fact of saying, revert back to that and just modernise it. And I wouldn't be against it, as I say, modernise it, modernise the font. If there's anything they can add to it, do that. But a lot of people quite simply want to go back. Now, I know why a lot of fans maybe wouldn't want that. They don't want to go backwards. And, a few fans have also said, well, what's the point of changing the badge if you're going to only revert back to an old one? I get that as well. But I do think there are certain things they can maybe do, which we discussed, that they could add to the badge to revert back to the old one, but also keep it as an evolution of the badge as well, and still go forwards with it. One of the big things discussed was, what do we keep? And the lion was a big one, obviously. Now, a couple of points that were made on the night was, well, what does the lion represent? Because if you'd ask most Boro fans why we've always had the lion in our shirt, they probably wouldn't know the answer. But within finding out where the lion come from, it's actually really important, I think, that that is kept as is. And if there's one constant, my argument was it is the lion. It shouldn't change at all. They shouldn't change its shape. They shouldn't change its look. Yeah, you can maybe change the tone of red slightly, but the lion was absolutely the one constant that should remain. And I'm absolutely for that. The other two things that were sort of discussed that we could add or include were the ships from the old badge, which has been a part of some really awesome concept art badges, which I really, really like. And I think that's down to Middlesbrough being a shipping town, and, that being what we've been known for in the past. Now, I'm on the fence with this one. I feel like adding ships is a nice reference to past badges, but I don't associate Middlesbrough with that anymore. I know a lot of fans do, a lot of fans don't. It's a generational thing. But I don't know if, modernising the badge and going forward, if having ships on it is the right thing. Because something I was arguing for is that this new badge has to be both simplistic, but it also has to be, modern and to the point where it doesn't date. And it has to remain relevant, whether we're looking at it now, in 10 years' time, or 20 years' time. So that's where I wasn't sure whether the ship would be a decent addition or not. Plus, another argument I made was, if you add the ships, you've surely then got to add a tone of blue to the badge, and I don't think they should add any other colours to the badge. And I think most people were in agreement that the badge should just be red and white. And in my eyes, I think that adds to the simplistic argument that a lot of people were pushing for, but also I think it makes the badge a lot more reusable and adaptable, depending on where you want to use it. If it's all red, for me, and this is my design head on, it doesn't matter what colour kit the badge is on, what colour background it's on. If it's all red, you can flip it to being all white or all black, depending on what kit you want it on, what piece of merch you want it on. If the badge is red and blue, it makes it more awkward trying to apply it to different things. You want this badge to be synonymous, simplistic, and instantly recognisable, but you also want it to, fit in place on scarves, on badges, on mugs, on all sorts of merch. And if Boro are to get promoted, another argument I made was that, the brand goes global at that point. So you want it to be something that a lot of people around the world possibly can instantly resonate with and recognise as Middlesbrough Football Club. And I think just naturally with the way modern badges are going, how sort of simplistic they are, that's definitely the route we should go down. And I think as much as some fans may not like it, you have kind of got to follow the trend of a lot of other clubs that have adopted very round badges that maybe are a little bit more slicker and modern and simple. But I think that's just what works when your brand is going global. It's easier for people to recognise and understand the badge and its meaning if it is just simpler. So I wouldn't have the boats on there personally. The other big question or inclusion that was very much down the middle was the Transporter Bridge. Now, of course, if you're not from Middlesbrough, you might not be as aware of the Transporter Bridge, but it sits literally alongside the stadium at the Riverside, and I think it's one of only 2 Transporter Bridges in Europe. I think the other one's in Newport, and I don't know if it's, I think, one of only 5 in the world at this point now, so it's something we're really proud of here in Middlesbrough, and I can absolutely see why a lot of fans would want it on the badge, but I don't know where it would go. That's the problem. You know, if the lion's going to be on there, I don't know where the Transporter fits. I've seen some really awesome concept art around how you could maybe use the shape of the Transporter and maybe use that to fixate the actual outline of the badge itself. That could work. But I feel like if we're going very much towards a circular badge, I don't quite know how the Transporter fits. I think I would rather have the Transporter as part of the kit, maybe on the back of the collar as a little badge or something. I don't know where it would fit on the actual Boro badge itself, but it was very much down the middle. 50% of people were all for it, 50% of people were all against the Transporter being on the badge. Another big question was whether the badge should actually be in a circle, a shape, or not at all. You know, I think the line is definitely going to be there, so I think some people were questioning whether it should be in any shape. You know, you look at Liverpool reverting back to just having the bird on its own with LFC, Arsenal with just the guns, Tottenham obviously just have the bird on the ball or whatever the hell it is. You know, a lot of badges now actually aren't in any sort of shape. So there was an argument that Boro's line should maybe not sit within any shape. You know, it's currently inside a shield. Previously it was inside a circle. There was some argument to suggest it shouldn't be in anything. It should just literally be outstanding on its own. And maybe we revert back to just saying MFC, but I don't think that instantly tells you it's Middlesbrough Football Club. You know, for me, you need to have the name on there, you need to have our date of birth on there, and I feel like if it was just the line and MFC, it wouldn't work for me now. And I think Middlesbrough Football Club is such a long name as well. Having the line and then Middlesbrough Football Club written underneath it, I just don't think that balance works all that much. So I think if they are going to have it within any shape, it's going to be a circle. I don't think it's going to be in anything else. Like the previous badge before, I think we're going to have the line inside a circle with Middlesbrough Football Club sort of rotated around the circle inside the sort of inner band, you could call it, with our birth year in the middle like it always was. But unlike the old badge, which obviously says 1986, that was down to the year we nearly went under and were saved by Steve Gibson. I think we will revert back to it being 1876, which was the only nitpick with that old circular badge. It wasn't the actual true reflection of our birth year. It was the year that we were obviously saved by Steve Gibson, and his reasoning behind why he actually changed from the round badge to the current one was because a lot of people thought we were actually founded in 1986 when we weren't, and that's why he actually changed the badge. I think the story goes like it was, I think in the UEFA Cup final against Sevilla, I think someone actually asked him why we were only founded, and I think they said, wow, it's unbelievable that you've got yourselves to UEFA Cup final when you were only founded in 86, which was 20 years earlier. And I think Gibson was like, no, we weren't. We're actually a lot older than that. And I don't think he liked that. I think that's why he was so quick to change the badge after that, because he didn't want people to get the wrong idea of how long Boro had been around when we were founded, and that we actually have a lot more history than that badge maybe suggests. So we're definitely going to go back to having 1876 on the shirt. Other questions were obviously around, you know, what it means to be a Boro fan, you know, what it means to you for being from Teesside. You know, a lot of talk was on the aesthetics, but there was also a lot on just the emotion and the connection and what makes you love the club. And I don't know if they can incorporate any of that to the badge itself, but it was just a really, really awesome event. And my early predictions as to what the badge will be, I do think we'll go back to it being in a circle. It'll either be in a circle or no shape at all. The line is definitely going to be there. Don't know about the Transporter. I'm 50-50 on if they can squeeze the Transporter in there somewhere, but I don't think the ships will be in there. I don't think they'll add that. I think there'll be maybe too much going on, and I don't want them to add that in and be forced into adding a secondary colour like blue maybe. So I think it will be red, it'll be white, it will be circular, it will have the line inside it, it will have Middlesbrough Football Club rotated around the edge like before with a nice more modern sans serif font that's a lot more solid and sharp and readable, with 1876 in place instead of 1986. And then if they can add anything else that just makes it more relatable to Teesside, I would love them to do that. I'll be honest, I think Boro fans have gave the design team a really easy brief. if I'm honest. You know, being a designer, I know how tough it can be sometimes when people are asking for 150,000 different things, but it felt like everyone at the event wanted the same thing, and we weren't asking for all that much. As I say, a lot were just wanting to revert back to the old badge and modernise it, and a lot of the things that people wanted were actually on the badge anyway. So I don't think they need to do all that much. They just have to look at what we've had before, modernise it, and see if they can apply any cool little additions just to give it that little bit of extra life. Because my only concern is that maybe it might be a bit boring, maybe it might be a bit generic if we maybe don't add more to it than what we've asked. So I hope the design team can maybe look at a few of the notes that we've applied and they can just add a bit of life, bit of depth to the badge, whether it's a few different tones of red, maybe it's a bit of black, maybe they can incorporate the transporter in there, I don't know. But I'm really intrigued to see where they go, and that's sort of my roundup of the event. One final thing was what we want to do for the 150th anniversary itself. I think the overriding suggestion from fans was that we do want to do something very special for the 150th birthday. I think what a lot of people suggested was that we maybe make the badge gold or do something that's a one-off. They did confirm they are definitely looking to do something for the 150th, you know, specifically for that 1 year. My point was that you don't want to create a completely new crest for the 150th anniversary, because if you've got two different crests, one for just that year and then a brand new one long term, you're giving people a decision to basically like one and dislike the other and pick. I think they need to just pick a brand new crest as the baseline, go with that for the 150th and go with that long term, and then maybe for the 150th year specifically, just turn it gold. You know, apply something that you can easily then unapply, if that makes sense. Add something that you can easily take away again, whether it's a ribbon saying 150, whether it's, you know, making it gold and then taking the gold away. I think it's just easier creating the brand new badge, adding something that you can easily remove for the 150th anniversary, and then there's a bit of continuity, a bit of consistency, but you're also celebrating the anniversary at the same time. So yeah, there's my thoughts, there's my roundup and recap from the event, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I wanted to share that because I know there's a lot of Boro fans who maybe couldn't be there, who would have been interested to hear sort of where we're going with it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If there's any concept art you've liked, what you'd like the badge to look like, which badges you like, which badges you don't like. Are there any badges from other clubs that you think are nice that we could take inspiration from? I wouldn't be surprised to see our badge look something like City's badge or Chelsea's or Brentford's. I do believe the company who have been hired to create our new badge are the same company who created the Chelsea badge. So it may look something very similar to that. So that's maybe your best idea of where this might be going. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you've enjoyed the video, do smash the like button, guys. Really appreciate the support as always. Do obviously hit the bell too, so you never miss it when a video drops here on the channel. Let me know all your thoughts on the Boro badge going forward and what you would like to see. But other than that, guys, do take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.